So let's talk a bit about Jung's analytic psychology. Jung believed that the total personality or psyche is composed of many different aspects that interplay with one another. The ego is the center of the consciousness. This is what the part of the psyche that's part of our experience. It's involved with our perceiving, our thinking, feeling, and remembering. This is the psychic the psyche that is very aware of what's happening. This is our awareness in a nutshell. And he believed that our psychic energy can be channeled towards ourselves, which is introversion, or towards the outside world, which is extroversion. He believes that we have the capacity to have both occurring at the same time. We all have extroversion and introversion attitudes. However, we are predisposed to act in one particular way. One will be conscious while the other is unconscious. Like other opposing forces, analytical psychology, these two serve as a way to compensate one another. So, according to Jung, introversion is turning inward of psychic energy with the orientation towards the subjective. This means that introverts are tuned into their inner world with fantasies, dreams, their perception. Although they are aware of the external world, they are more selective with what they tune towards. Those who are um, more ruled or more guided by extroversion turn their psychic energy outwardly. So they tend to orient towards objective and away from the subjectives. Extroverts are more influenced by their surroundings than by their inner world. They tend to be more objective or have more objective attitude while suppressing subjective attitude. So remember that people are neither completely introverted or completely extroverted. So we often have this balance that is resides in between our conscious and unconscious. Another related idea is psychological functions. Both extroversion and introversions can combine with any of these functions to form 8 possible personality orientations or types. So the 4 functions are sensing, thinking, feeling, and intuiting. So sensing tells people that something exists. Thinking enables them to recognize its meaning. Feeling tells them the value or the worth. And intuition allows them to know about it without knowing how they know about it. The combination of psychological function and attitudes can be combined to make up 8 different psychological types. Extroverted thinking, those who are extroverted thinkers tend to be very logical, objective, dogmatic perhaps. Those who are extroverted feeling are emotional, sensitive, they are more sociable. Extroverted sensing are outgoing, pleasure seeking. Extroverted intuiting are creative, they're able to motivate others, and they seize opportunities. Introverted thinking are more interested in ideas than in people. Introverted feelers are reserved. They don't show their feelings outwardly, but they're yet capable of deep emotions. For introverted sensing, we have those who appear to be outwardly detached, and they tend to express themselves in creative pursuits like arts and music. Introverted intuiting are tuned inward, and they are more dreamers. So they are more in tune with their unconscious rather than everyday reality. So these were Jung's 8 psychological types. Myers-Briggs went on to create another layer of psychological types, developing 16 psychological types is a combination of attitudes, rational and non-rational functions. And that is the test that you will be taking and writing about in your week's discussion board forum. On to our next topic, a very controversial idea of Jung is the existence of a different form of consciousness. So besides the personal conscious, which is very similar, personal unconscious, which is very similar to Freud's idea of preconscious, Freud believes that patterns of our emotions, if we start to file more and more experiences into our personal unconscious, it can begin to be formed into complexes. So complexes could be considered a pattern of emotions or memories, wishes that are similar around a theme. So these complexes actually may be conscious or unconscious. And the deepest, least accessible level of the psyche is the collective unconscious. Now, Freud also brought something like this forward. He calls it phylogenic endowment. It's the idea that no matter where we are in the world, there are universal experiences that's inherited from previous ancestral generations. And Jung believed that people accumulate and file all of their personal experiences in the personal unconscious, but humankind as a whole collectively also store experiences of our human and pre-human ancestors in the collective unconscious. So this is evidenced by experiences that are reported throughout the world, themes that show up in different parts of the world, in different societies, in different beings. So, for example, individuals, we all have potential to have fears, and we have potential to behave and feel the same way that other people have felt. There are dreams that are reported, very, very similar dreams, or types of dreams of falling, dreams of running away from something, as well as stories of heroes and cautionary tales or myths. Myths that have very similar themes can appear all over the world. And these are some of the ways in which he believes supports the idea of the collective unconsciousness. The recurring themes or patterns that show up are called archetypes. These are universal experiences that can be found all over. And some of the common ones are the persona. The persona is the public face or role that we present to others. There's also the hero, the mother, the god, death, power, the wise old man. There's the shadow archetype, which is the archetype that contains our primitive animalistic instincts. There's the self archetype, which is the integration of our total personality. You could think of the persona as sort of the mask, a public face that we wear to present ourselves as someone different than who we really are. We all have different personas. As a employer, as a mother, as a friend, as a co-worker, we all present different face to other people. The problem can come up if we start to confuse our real self with our persona, for example. Remember that with everything that Jung presents is often an opposite. So besides these three personas, other notable ones are the opposite sex characteristics, the animus and anima. Animus with the US at the end is the masculine aspect of the female psyche, and the anima, which is the feminine aspect of the male psyche. So Jung insists that both anima and animus must be expressed. If we suppress or minimize the expression of one, it will be unhealthy and it will create problems down the line, becomes underdeveloped. Um, so let's go back to the shadow for a moment, because Jung did talk quite a bit about the shadow, which contains, again, the most primitive animalistic and has the deepest roots of all the archetype. So many people mistakenly think of the shadow as a source of evil, which it can be indeed, but it's also the source of passion, spontaneity, creativity, and emotion. So it is not a good idea to suppress the shadow completely, because then the psyche will not be very interesting, will be lifeless. The self archetype is it's what we want to strive towards. This is the ultimate goal, striving towards wholeness. The self cannot emerge, according to Jung, until all the other systems of the psyche develop. So this means that the self can't quite develop before middle age. So there you have some of the most notable archetypes. And if you have any questions, again, please feel free to use the discussion forum question and answers to post your questions. I'm sure if you have them, your other classmates will have them as well. And I will be sure to post responses, or other people can also post responses there. And until next time, bye-bye now.